I don't think I know a single family that hasn't been touched by addiction. And for those of us who also have a story of recovery, it is a gift worth commemorating. The Pittsburgh Recovery Walk celebrates the many roads to recovery from addiction and all those who travel them. This year's walk is Saturday, September 7th. It kicks off right across from the Heinz History Center at 9 a.m. and heads downtown and back. It's free. They would love to know that you're coming, but registration is not required. There's going to be music, speakers, kids' activities, food trucks, a resource fair, dogs are welcome, plus the whole route is handicap accessible. Learn more at pghrecoverywalk.org because every recovery story matters. Liberty Magic is magic, up close and sometimes very personal. They have an intimate speakeasy-style performance space, and they just announced their new lineup for this year's season. Miguel Munoz will be there starting in October. Miguel is a circus artist and world champion of magic, and Nick Defott will take the stage in November. Nick is known for an offbeat sense of humor and some jaw-dropping stunts. It's all at Liberty Magic in the Cultural District. Get your tickets at trustarts.org/magic before they disappear.
Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, when someone arrives in the U.S. seeking asylum, they have to make their case in immigration court, explaining why they had to flee from their home country, the kind of danger they faced there, and why they hope to stay here. It's a long, complicated process. It can take years before a judge decides whether to grant them asylum. Pittsburgh never had an immigration judge, but we had an immigration court where people could come to attend a virtual hearing with a judge in another city. But that abruptly shut down more than 2 years ago. Now a local nonprofit is trying to fill the gap. It's Monday, August 26th. I'm Mallory Falk, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. Casa San Jose is a community resource center and advocacy group in Beachview. Most of the time, this little room near the front serves as a typical office. It's where the group's executive director, Monica Ruiz, gets her work done. But once a week or so, it turns into a makeshift courtroom. One person or a whole family comes in, sits at the computer, and logs into a virtual hearing with an immigration judge. Staff members are on hand to help with technical issues, like making sure people are able to log in correctly. But they're not lawyers. They can't give legal support. They're here to provide a physical space, since Pittsburgh doesn't have an official one anymore.
I think for me, what really motivated us to help people as much as we could was seeing how many people were like, I need to go to this court hearing. You know, like their freedom depended on it. Their, future immigration status depended on it. And how many people are really dedicated to attending their court hearings so that they can stay in this country.
We sat down with Ruiz at her space in the South Hills of Pittsburgh to talk about this work.
If you look at a city like ours, where our population has been declining, we need people in this city, in this county, in this region, or we're not going to be the Pittsburgh that we are today or the Pittsburgh we could be tomorrow. We're going to be the Pittsburgh we were 50 years ago, right? Where people were just leaving in troves and businesses were closing. I don't want to live in an area like that. So just understanding that. And people aren't coming here because they're getting anything free. They're coming here because there's jobs here. They're coming to work, right? And so let's just start to really look at these things and to think that people are coming here and getting free healthcare and getting free services and getting free housing and none of that exists. They're really coming here to work in order to be able to provide these things for their families. And by doing that, they're creating tax revenue for they're purchasing things, they're opening businesses in this region. So the benefit isn't just for the individual that's coming, but it's for this entire region. And that's, I think, what people don't see.
Well, let's talk about what we can see right now. We're sitting in the Casa San Jose offices, and your office, your space, it's pretty small.
What I have now is kind of like, it's a little bit bigger than a closet, but I am happy it has a big, huge window, and it's very crowded, but it is what it is right now.
It works for the time being.
It does.
Yeah. So tell me how it kind of became not just, an office in a nonprofit, but also the place where people come for their immigration court hearings. Because I think usually, right, there's an actual courtroom in a federal office building. So how did we end up in this situation?
So for years, the immigration court was right in the South Side, and people would just go down there and have their immigration court hearings. And it's what was happening for as long as I can remember. And then out of the blue, they decided to close that office. And so people really didn't have a place to physically go for their court hearing. So what happened was that, we started to see that some of our community members didn't have internet at home in order to connect at home. Many of them didn't know how to connect. And so they were missing their court hearings, and they don't want to miss their court hearings. And so we just told them to come here. And so we have a computer there, and we help them log on. And then we give them a place to sit and wait, because it's sometimes can be an all-day thing. So we use our waiting area as the immigration court waiting area. And then one by one, usually it's like a family that will go in at a time. But we can have anything from one person, coming, or we can have families of several people waiting to have their cases heard. So we tried in other locations. We tried, the county DHS offered us a really nice space downtown, but it was a little hard for us to kind of oversee the work there, because that's not where we are. We're here. So it was just easier to keep it here.
What are the stakes if somebody, can't log on to if they miss a hearing, if for whatever reason, they're not able to attend?
You missed your court hearing. It's a deportation order. You got a deportation order. So the consequence is not because of, for the past 3 days, we've had problems with Wi-Fi here. So I went home. I live down the street, and it's worse at home. So imagine if I had immigration court and I just simply couldn't log on because of the Wi-Fi. That is not, it's insane. It's insane to think that because of something like that, you could lose your freedom.
Pittsburgh never actually had a situation where there was a judge here at a bench that people made their case in front of. How did it used to work? And are there other differences now besides just kind of the physical space moving from the South Side to your office?
Yeah. So, as much as we love helping our community, and we're here in the community working with and for the community, this isn't our job, right? So we're doing something for the federal government, right, which I think just doesn't fall under our purview. And so one of the problems is that, one of the benefits of having it where it was in the South Side, it was virtual at that time. The judge was on a screen, but you were there with everyone else. And so there were immigration attorneys there. There were other people that may have had the same situation that you might have. It was like an actual courtroom, right? Where, it's very different than a social service agency trying to provide one-off little patchwork services for folks to be able to access their immigration court. So I think that's the big difference.
Yeah. And do you know why there was never a judge in Pittsburgh? Were there just not enough cases here to warrant having one? Or
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question. I know that I've been here for 17 years. And when I first got here, there weren't as many folks that are coming as there are now. So maybe that was a decision that was made at that time. But seeing the increase in numbers now, you would think the answer would be to get someone here and not take away the whole system.
Yeah. That just kind of as those numbers were going up was when the court got shut down, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to school, to the grocery store, or crossing a bridge to get to work, we all need an efficient way to get from A to B. The Airport Corridor Transportation Association, aka ACTA, wants to make that journey a little easier for us. The Ride ACTA shuttle connects riders from the IKEA Superstop over in Robinson to over 275 businesses, including Settlers Ridge, the mall at Robinson, and the Homewood Suites by the mall. Plus, they have an app, Ride ACTA. ACTA is committed to accessible, affordable, and sustainable travel solutions. The buses themselves are very cute, and their whole process is smooth, efficient, and it will keep you away from a steering wheel on Parkway West traffic. The whole idea is honestly genius, so it makes sense that they've offered nearly 850,000 rides in the last 15 years. Check it out for yourself at actapgh.org. That's actapgh.org.
Want to teach your kids financial literacy, but not sure where to start? Greenlight can help. With Greenlight, parents can keep an eye on kids' spending and saving, while kids and teens use a card of their own to build money confidence. As a parent, you can send instant money transfers, set up chores, automate allowance, and more. It's a convenient way to run your household, customized to your family's needs, and the easy way to raise financially smart kids. Get started with Greenlight today and get your first month free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
Let's talk a little bit about those numbers and that need. Do you have a sense of how many people in the Pittsburgh region are in immigration proceedings and need to attend court?
I don't know. What I will tell you is the statistics that I do know. And what I do know is that I would say specifically Latino population grew over 80% in the last 10 years. And the folks that we service every day has grown exponentially as well. 4 years ago, we were servicing about 400 people per year. And this year, we will serve over 6,000 this year. And so that's a big difference in just 4 years. I would say that maybe 75% of the people that we service have been here for less than 3 years. Mm-hmm. And those are the folks that are having their immigration court hearings. So there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I can't give you a specific number, but yeah.
Yeah. Do these tend to be people seeking asylum? Like, tell me a little bit more about who you're seeing, who's showing up for court, and kind of what brought them here and why they're hoping to stay here.
Absolutely. So, number one, contrary to popular belief, it is legal, and it is actually the legal way to come to this country to present yourself at the border and seek asylum.
Right.
It's 100% legally the way that you're supposed to do it. And when folks present themselves at the border, then they are legally allowed to enter into the country. And so then they have to go through their court hearings to present their case. And then at the end, the judge will determine whether, their case is, a good reason for asylum, good basis or whatever it is. I'm not an attorney again. And then people are granted status or however that goes. Mm-hmm. So I would say the vast majority of the people, like maybe 95% at this point, are seeking asylum, the ones that we see. And they want to go to court, and they do everything in their power to go to court because they want to plead their case, because they want to be able to stay here.
I know you mentioned the potential to hold the hearings in a Department of Homeland Security office. Is there have you received any support from the federal government, the state government, the local government to do the work that normally is the work of the federal government?
Like I said, the DHS offered us, like I said, a beautiful, beautiful space. It was just hard for us to dedicate a staff person to be there every Wednesday or, whatever it was. So we're really grateful to that. And now there's an immigration attorney who's offered her space as well, which I think is really great because then worst case scenario, there's an attorney there, which we are not. So I thought that was very kind of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note for people who might not be familiar that unlike other kinds of court cases in the U.S., in immigration court, you're not assigned a lawyer unless you have the means to get one yourself. You're doing this on your own.
Absolutely. So immigration law is not criminal law. It's not criminal court. It's civil court. It's like getting a divorce or filing bankruptcy. And so you are not allotted an attorney. And so you've got people really trying to fight their cases, not knowing which way to go. And so having someone there close by to help them, I think it's a good idea.
So you mentioned potentially this other space. I mean, it's incredible what you and Casa San Jose have done stepping up to provide this space for people. Does it feel sustainable?
No, it doesn't at all. Something else has to be done. And, I understand before COVID, I was against virtual everything, right? I'm a little old school. But now I see the importance of it and how, it's really beneficial for many things. But please understand that we have people coming from very rural areas in different countries who have never even had a cell phone. And so we're expecting them to use a device that they've never used before to log on to a meeting that could determine their future. And if they can't do it, then that's too bad. That's not fair.
Yeah, for kind of the one of the most consequential moments of their lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So what would you like to see going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we as a country can reform our immigration system, then we can be allotted more judges, preferably in person, if not at least spaces where people can meet and have these hearings take place, where they can get better services and better answers to their questions than we can. So, it's like if we were holding, I don't know, virtual surgery here, right? You don't want me to give you advice on telling the doctor, okay, cut to the left, right? You don't want that virtually or anything. Like people really need to have these services in place. And Pittsburgh, we're very lucky to have something called universal representation, where the city does help provide a small amount of people, like the public defender's model for folks in immigration court. But it needs to grow. It needs to be much larger, but we're one of very few cities across the country that does this.
Do you have a sense of how many people get to participate in that?
Yeah, right now, last year, I think there was only 10 people that could participate because of the limited funding and the amount of need that there is. But so we have it, and so does Philadelphia. And so we really would like to, at least, by the very least, grow it countywide, if not statewide. Yeah, I'll keep you posted on that.
Once someone goes through all their immigration proceedings, if a judge decides that they can stay in the U.S., they can stay in Pittsburgh, are there any other resources that Casa San Jose provides?
I can tell you that here at Casa, we have partners and we can help people find apartments or houses to rent, which is really difficult to rent when you don't have a Social Security number. And so we have those connections. We have healthcare services where we have doctors that come in and can see people here. Dr. Diego comes and sees pediatrician. He's a pediatrician who sees pediatrics that don't have health insurance on Tuesdays. We have an array of youth programs because we really want kids to, it's hard when you're the only whatever in a place where you don't speak the language and you don't eat the same foods. And we do a lot of advocacy. And I think that's really important for us to continue to do that work because, we're only going to get so far providing resources that at some point systems have to change in order to make things better for everyone else.
Monica Ruiz, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. Since we spoke to Monica, she says some people have started attending their virtual hearings at that attorney's office she mentioned, but many still come to Casa San Jose. A case manager there says they've seen more than 10 court cases in the past month and a half. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider telling a friend, leaving us a review, rating us, and subscribing to our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Talk to you then.
I wish that people could see the beauty in all the things that, people from different countries bring, not just from Latin America, but from all over the world. And how I wish that this region was a little more welcoming than it is.